Hello there, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show, where we bring you badasses from all over the world. And today, you all, I have to tell you, I am very, very happy. When I approached Dr. Joseph Howell about coming on the show, he said, "Of course, I would love to." And you all have to know, I went to an Enneagram special seminar that he did in the mountains of North Carolina many years ago, and it just made such an impact on me. You need to know that Dr. Howell is one of the foremost authorities on the Enneagram. And in fact, he has two books out there, which he can give us the titles to. One is from 2024, right? A new one, Dr. Howell.
Right. It's
And
called
so
Know
you
Your
all,
Soul.
what's it called again? Sorry.
Know Your Soul, Journeying with the Enneagram.
Love that. Know your soul, journeying with the Enneagram. And what I love about today is that we're going to give you information that is going to help you improve not only your business, but also your life, your relationships with others, and your higher power, and your understanding of yourself. We could all use more of that. So, Dr. Howell, I want to welcome you to the show, you all. He has been an esteemed professor at Harvard. He has been in private practice for a long time as a psychiatrist, correct, Dr. Howell? And recently you retired, which I know you didn't retire.
No, I didn't retire. Do need to correct you. I was a fellow in clinical psychology at
Yes.
Harvard, and I just needed to correct that.
I'm glad you did. So, and either way, it's quite an accomplishment. So, we are thrilled to have you on the show. And now, I want to ask you. I want to start out with a quick question, just to kind of situate this. When did you know? Because we're all about aspiring business owners and people who already have businesses. When did you know that you really wanted to be in therapy, that you wanted not be in therapy, but you wanted to be a therapist? When was that moment in your life that you realized you had a real gift for
I,
helping people understand themselves?
I think you're great. I think not only did I want to be a therapist, I wanted to be in
I love it.
and I was. I have spent many years sitting at the feet of tremendously talented people. One of my first counselors, I have to say, was Henry Nowen. Uh,
Wow.
I was at Yale Divinity School doing a degree there, and he was my faculty advisor. And he and I spent many hours together because he was many years ahead of me, and he was a professor there. Um, and he counseled me beautifully during those years. I've also had a wonderful Jungian analyst be my counselor and friend, as well as a, a, a chaplain at our local hospital who was light years ahead of so many people, and he guided me as well. So I have been in lots of different kinds of therapies. But to answer your question about what got me interested in wanting to be a clinical psychologist, which is what I am, uh, I knew that I was called to help people in some way. In college, people would come to me for help or whatever and talk to me about their various problems and issues into my dorm room and late at night, or a
Mm.
fellow club member or a fraternity brother or whatever. And they kept coming, but my poor roommate had to leave. But it's just then that I came in contact with the fact that this might be my gift. This might
Mm.
be what I was meant to do. My father was in a field that it was nothing like that. He was
Mm.
in the he was in the food brokerage business. I was his first son, and he just knew that I was going to, take over his business and worked with him. And I I remember him saying to me, you want to be a therapist when you have a whole business here that you can begin without building anything. I built it for you. And I had to say to my father, Dad, I just would be miserable.
Mhm.
And I have to say, he respected that. And he had another son who was willing, at least for that time, to go into it, as Trevor did. But by and large, I believe our true purpose is really an archetypal purpose,
Mm.
and was kind of coded into us, kind of from the beginning, into our soul.
I
Uh,
love that. Now I'm going to pause you because you've already
sure.
dropped some gems that I want to highlight for
Okay.
the listeners. You already have, and I knew you would. So I gotta pause and time out for a second. And one thing that I want everyone to hear, and this is very important when you're thinking about what you're going to do with your life or what you're going to do as a business, is ask yourself the question, what do other people ask me to do for them? How do
Mhm.
other people ask me to serve them?
Mhm.
Because guess what? You will find people have always come to me for solutions, hence the name of my business, Spirited Solutions, speaking and training and coaching. People came to me for solutions. They still do, to fix it. Barnsley's like the fix it person. And I love that you brought that forward, Dr. Howell. And I also love what you said, and I want everyone to hear this as well. Just because somebody in your family does a certain thing, they're a doctor, a lawyer, an
Mhm.
educator, whatever, does not mean you have to either. And thank goodness your brother was willing to take up that I was going to say cross, but no,
Well, I think you're
it was
kind of
it was
right.
not a
He
burden for him.
Several years later he became an attorney,
Oh, okay,
uh,
okay,
but
yeah.
he too discovered his archetype.
Mm. Now, see, this is where a lot of people, I think, who are listening, some are going to know about the Enneagram and be very interested in it. Some have maybe never heard about it before. And so I wanted to ask you as well as kind of giving us a context for when you knew you wanted to become a clinical psychologist. When is that moment that you decided that you really wanted to dedicate yourself to deeper study of the Enneagram and even writing about it in your books?
Mm,
What was that special moment? Was
yeah.
there one? I'm sure there was.
Well, from the earliest, from college onward, I have always been interested in the human mind,
Mm,
human behavior, and also spirituality. I had those two tracks. And I remember when I was in my mid 30s, somebody gave me a flyer from that day. It was the secretary at our church. She gave me this flyer, and she said, "Joe, you're a psychologist. You may be interested in this." And it was an invitation, uh, I guess, to their priest to come to an Enneagram training program in Cleveland, Ohio,
mm,
that was put on by the Jesuits there.
interesting.
And I looked at the brochure, and it was I was made breathless, because in just a few diagrams that they had in that brochure, I remember it was yellow with black print. In just a few diagrams, I saw something that blended psychology and spirituality so succinctly that it almost took my breath. And I said, I've got to find out more about this. This has got the two components that people are trying to put in two separate boxes, and I see them as one and the same. And these people are teaching it. So I went to Cleveland to study with the Jesuits. Patrick O'Leary, who is still a dear friend of mine, wrote with Maria Beesing uh, the first book in this country on the Enneagram, and
Mm,
they were teaching it. It was in the mid to late '80s, I believe, and it was a week that changed my life.
wow.
I never practiced or involved myself with people without uh, always referring to some of the insights of the Enneagram, which really helps my practice.
I love it. And so, just if you would, for those people who may not be very familiar with the Enneagram, just give us a little quick little history or definition of it, um, that might help situate them a little bit.
Well, basically, it's a system of spiritual discernment
I
for,
love that.
for a person to understand who they are on the deepest level of their existence, warts and all.
Mm,
Not only the beauty and the ecstasy of it, but
yes.
the shadow of it.
Mm,
It addresses what the whole person may be. And contrary to some popular opinions, the Enneagram is not to figure out the type of another person or use it on another person,
mm,
because unless done professionally, uh, we cannot type other people. It's too personal, it's too private. It really is just between us and God how we work this Enneagram, because only God's ears can hear all of our secrets. And I'm talking about all of them. There was once a book I read called "Lying on the Couch," and
mm,
what it meant was
mm.
telling lies on the
Yes,
couch,
yes.
which all of us have done who've been in therapy, because we're talking to another human being. But the Enneagram doesn't necessarily need another human being. You
Mm,
can work it yourself. It's wonderful if you have a spiritual advisor or someone to coach you in the Enneagram, but that's icing on the cake.
mm,
Mostly it's done in our own privacy. And basically what it does is help you understand one of 9 types of energies
mm, mm,
that we were born into. Okay? And in being born into that energy, what was the corresponding ego type that we developed because of the the qualities of our soul that we were born with?
mm.
And this ego type, of which there are 9, says 9 different things to the world. Number 1 says, I'm right. Number 2 says, I am helpful. Number 3, I'm successful. 4, I'm unique. 5, I'm wise. 6, I'm loyal. 7, I'm happy. 8, I'm powerful. 9, I am okay and peaceful. And those are the 9 strategies that from ancient times, because the Enneagram is a very ancient system that was only discovered at the beginning of the last century in the Middle East. And there are only 9 ways that people move through the world as a human being. And these are the 9 ways. Now, every one of us has our own way of expressing that one way that is our main major portal. It's like entering a stadium. You go through a major portal, then you go to a gate, then you go to a zone, then you go to an aisle, then you go to a row, then you go to a seat. So there are very many uh, different layers of finding out how we specifically uh, express that type. Uh, but there are 9 basic ones.
I love the way that you just basically so succinctly went through the 9 types, and I think that's so interesting. And those listening, I would recommend that you go back and listen to that and find where you would situate yourself. Now, I have a funny story for you, Dr. Howell. When I was at your event at Canuga, I thought, I am a 7 because I am super fun and I am happy and joyful. So I went to the 7 table and we had an assignment. And I sat there and I was like, this is not me at all. Or not that it's not me at all, but it's a little superficial and it's just a little, it doesn't feel very strong to me. And then I looked over to the 8 table And there was only one other person sitting there out of this huge group. Nobody wanted to be an 8, I think, because you can be really strong. Yeah, another
Yes.
word could be controlling. And I realized, you know what? I'm an 8. Now I have the 7 and 9 on either side, but I'm an 8. And I went over there to sit. And I was actually sitting with a colleague of yours. I cannot think of her name, but it was
Erica Jobs.
yes. And I remember when Erica spoke, I thought, wow, I like how direct she is. Oh, I like this, I like that. And then I realized sitting at the 7, just a little bit too, uh, what's the word, flimsy for me. I need to go over to the 8 table. And
Well,
so I went over there. And the way I also really knew I was an 8 is that when you take us back to, I've forgotten the word, is it regressed? The
we talked.
opposite side, when you go back to the opposite side,
Mhm.
I was a 2, and I am very 2. I am all
There you
about
go.
this, all
That
about
that
health.
the two-ness is your soul child.
Yes,
That's how you were born.
yes,
And we are emphasizing that much more at our events now, at our conferences that we do across the country, because people are very interested in how they were born and how they interacted when they were small children and how that flipped into another harder shell of a human
persona.
being. Yeah,
Yeah.
persona. There you go.
It's almost
Sometimes.
like in astrology, and I'm not an astrologist, but in astrology, they talk about your sun sign and your rising. And the sun is what you appear to others. So I'm in Aries, right? But my rising is Taurus, which is very grounded, very follow through, very
Strong.
practical.
The
And
bull.
that's me on the inside.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
There
So
you
I
go.
think that soul child is the inside. And when I heard the 2, I said, oh my gosh, that's me. So I think one of the most fascinating things about the Enneagram, everyone, is that when you do a little bit of searching, and there are some complimentary tests out there that you could start some of your searching. And I know you had one in your book.
I have one in my book and on our website,
Mm,
uh, theicb.org.
okay.
Theicb.org. It's a different Enneagram test. We give uh, different percentages that you fall into each ego type, because there again, we do not type people. We let you take the
Right.
different rankings of percentages, and together in consultation and with your own life experience come upon what energy that is basically your ego's energy.
And now as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of another thing, and that is recently I have felt very much, Dr. Howell, that the push, 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 which is 8 energy,
Mhm.
let's just say it's very masculine energy, is very much the way the world and bureaucracy have operated. Push, push, push. That this will not work for me anymore. And it's taken me back to my soul child, who is this dreamer and this lover and helper. And I just love this soul child. And I am at my best. Now I need the boundaries of the 8.
Mhm.
I do need the boundaries sometimes, because I would give people the shirt off my back. In fact, I gave one of the kids, when I was growing up, I gave her a hand knit sweater my mother had made. I went home and my mom's like, "Where's your sweater?" And I said, "Oh, I gave it to so and so. She was cold."
Ah, well, that
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Well, it is beautiful, but my mother was laughing, and she said, then the mother called and said, "Thank you so much for the sweater." So there's no way she could ask for it back. My mother had hand knit that for me. Anyway, um, yes, it is beautiful. And I believe that we need to understand our soul child. And my soul child is just wanting to play with people and be with people and help people. And that 8 is not workable now for me that much. And also something I learned from you is that the wings are so important. The wings, for everyone listening, those are, if you're an 8, you have a wing that's a 7 and you have a wing that's a 9. And if you are a 5, you have a wing that's a 4 and a wing that's a 6.
Two
Okay.
wings.
Yeah, you got 2 wings, left and right, basically. The number before and the number after, how you type yourself. And I realized, I am most effective setting boundaries and being an 8 and being powerful when I incorporate humor and fun. Think about that. because people can take in things that they normally cannot take in. If I say, well, you need to da 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 da, but if I make a joke about something, then people can laugh and they can get on board. And then as an 8, I very much need the 9, because the 9 can sit back at the pool, put their feet up, and have a nice bubbly drink, and just be okay right there in the moment.
Yeah, just veg out.
Veg out, do
Yeah.
nothing. And my nine has my 9 wing says sometimes, okay, you need a vacation. Now let me
Mhm.
ask you this, Dr. Howell. Let's see. Let's guess what you are. Now, can I guess? Can I make a guess as
Sure,
how you would?
please.
Okay,
I
just
think
for fun. Just for
I
fun.
tell it at conferences and different Enneagram encounters.
I know you told me, but it's been a year, so I don't remember, which is a good thing. So you all listening, give us again the 1 through 9, would you, so everybody can hear it? What a 1 would say, what a 2 would say, real quickly. And y'all
Yeah.
think about where you think Dr. Howell is, and I want you to put it in the chat. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Howell. Number 1.
Number 1 says to the world, I am right.
Mm,
Number 2 says to the world, I am helpful.
mm,
Number 3 says to the world, I am successful.
mm,
Number 4 says to the world, I am unique. Number 5 says to the world, I know things.
mm-hmm.
I am wise. Number 6 says to the world, I am loyal. Number 7 says to the world, I am happy. Number 8 says to the world, I am powerful. And number 9 says to the world, I am okay and peaceful. Now, these are the way each of these main types, ego types, are, but they are a defense against anything that would challenge us. You can't hurt me because after all, I'm the right one. You can't hurt me. After all, I'm known for being so helpful. You can't undermine me because you can't do without my success.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hurt me because I'm an exquisite one of a kind, as
Mm-hmm.
number 4s say. You can't hurt me because I know so much, what 5s say. You can't hurt me because I'm loyal and I'm loyal to you, is what
Mm-hmm.
6s say. You can't hurt me because I'm the happy one, says 7. And 8 says you can't hurt me because I'm more powerful than you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible for you to hurt me. And number 9 says you can't hurt me because I am the peaceful one. So you
Mm-hmm.
see, these are very, very beautiful, well honed out, and very effective defenses
Mm-hmm.
until for most people it's midlife. They realize that there's a lot of suffering in
Exactly.
being that way, and it's called, you reach the critical mass of suffering and you begin to think, I didn't always feel this way. You begin to think, there was once a time I knew life when I was in bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And, Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
great advice for midlife, because following our bliss takes us to our true purpose and our true nature. But
So
anyway, I gotta
yeah,
head.
I could listen to you speak all day. Okay, I know what I think you are. Okay, and I would say, based on your wisdom and also your dedication to a path of knowledge, of learning, being a lifelong learner, etc., that you are a 5. That would be my guess.
Well, you aren't wrong,
I'm not
because
wrong, but that's a wing.
that's a wing. I
Okay.
I I have the ego type of 6,
Mm,
and I have the wing of a 5 and the wing of a 7. And 6s are a unique combination between 7s and 5s, just as
mhm.
you are a unique uh, combination of your two wings, 9 and 7. And this makes it very interesting. It thickens the plot. There are many other ways we come to know who we are. One of them is the subtypes. because within each type there's a social, a sexual, and a self-preserving kind of person.
Mm.
This further delineates how you express that type.
So let me ask you this. Then you are at your best as a 6. You are at your best as a 1 or a 9?
9.
9. Okay. So that makes sense, because I was also thinking, it could kind of be a 7. Well, you do have the 7 wing, but I think 7 and 9 are interrelated a little bit, because they're very able to relax and just enjoy, be in a state of joy. And I think you're very joyful. Now, you all, what can you learn, other than the fact that this is super fun to guess people's types, but what can you learn? What can you glean from this, everyone listening? Think about the people you know, and especially when you learn a little bit more about the Enneagram and you go do the special assessment that you can do at the website. And we're going to include that in the freebie vault, by the way. What can you learn about yourself? And when you are operating out of that ego self, or when you're operating out of the soul child, right? And how can you make it safe for the people you work with? That could be your clients, it could be your team, it could be your employees, it could be your colleagues. How can you make it safe for people to be more in their soul type?
Well, you know, that's the question for the world, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the question for all of the wars that are going on right now, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the
Question
question
politics.
that's the question that we had in this country when we owned other people
Mm-hmm.
several hundred years ago. That's the question for this country now, when we're overtaken with selfishness
Mm-hmm.
and private agendas and exploitations, to the point, I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but today there was a government shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lack of understanding and living out of one's soul, which is a completely different way of operating. Your ego is one way, but your soul is the other. And because you're so good at this, you get to the nougat very quickly. I may be a 6, but I go to the 9 to integrate. But 9 is also the energy into which I was born.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pure, unadulterated, innocent me that, like you, as a little child who gave away your sweater, those beautiful little souls we were did not envy, did not try to do murder, did not try to undermine anyone, did not even think about that their needs were not going to be met.
Mm-hmm.
There was an underlying trust and compassion and ability to, for want of a better word, network with everyone around them. The reciprocity of relationships was understood during those years. And then we found out, an example for you was the sweater. For me, it was when I cut off my hair in front, and I was punished severely for that.
Mm.
And I thought it was a great thing that I did. But when at 4 years old, those things happen to us, giving away the sweater, cutting off your hair, and being punished, we then cannot be that little soul anymore.
It's a trauma, isn't it?
She cannot survive
Mm-hmm.
without a covering, which we call our ego. And it does a great job of protecting us. Remember, it gives something for us to be to the world that the world will not
Harm.
Harm. Good way. Good word. And
But it
so
also incarcerates us, Dr. Howell.
there you go.
It incarcerates us.
So we take the journey back to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do, what I call, and what I write about in my latest book, Know Your Soul, we do the process of spiritual amalgamation.
Mm.
We amalgamate our ego so that it begins to serve the soul, not occlude it, cover it, push it down. And in that, which is a spiritual process of amalgamation, we become one with that soul again. And we begin to operate at a higher level for our businesses, for our own family, for our relationships, for our community, for our own growth and development, because we are coming from the part of us that is tethered always to the divine.
Yes,
And
beautiful.
all of the divine qualities of our soul are coming to us that we cannot absorb. It's like a umbilical cord, but we can't absorb all of those qualities if we are covered in an ego that we think that that's the true us.
Okay, so let's get really nitty gritty with this. Okay, I'm thinking about a situation, and I'm going to tell you how I wanted to handle it from the eight. Okay, like when I was in the eight ego mind, and then I'd like to hear how the two would handle it at their best, and I'll let you know later what I did. How's that? But
Okay,
I
great.
want our listeners to really get this, okay, because this isn't some esoteric teaching, you all. This is a system that can really help you live your life at a much higher level, and it can help you advance your soul and have spiritual growth exponentially. Okay. And you do not want to just think like some of the people, oh, let me do this little Enneagram test and oh, I'm a four, so I'll always be a four. No, you want to understand all the depth of it, which we obviously cannot get into all of the subtypes, et cetera, in this interview, but just to understand the depth of this. All right. So here's the situation. It's a real one. It's a real one, Dr. Howell, because we do the no BS stuff here on the Bold Badass Business Show. So I had somebody who was really mad at me because I'm extremely direct. Okay. I'm very direct. And in a training, and it was a spiritual growth training on Reiki method of healing, I told this person, it was something that came through me, you know, really sounds like you're not happy in your marriage. And it sounds like you're not feeling respected in your marriage. Well, this person was super mad and called me later or left me a message and said, I'm going to be dropping out, blah, 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 blah. And da, da, da. All right. So from an eight point of view, what I could do is say, well, your loss, you know, who cares? All right. Well, you just weren't evolved enough to understand what I was saying, right? That would be sort of the ego. I did something completely different. But let me ask you from a two, where would that be? How would that be handled? What's one example?
And you're going to tell us what you did later,
I
right?
will. I'll tell you right after
Okay.
you give us a hypothetical.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because this brings up the point that in order to really use your superpowers, your
Mm-hmm.
spiritual superpowers, you do not go to the two ego. You use an amalgamation of the hard won wisdom of your eight and the soul qualities of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the soul qualities of the two are compassionate benevolence on the
Mm-hmm.
Enneagram of Soul. And I write about that in my book. Uh, and the Enneagram of Soul is much different from the Enneagram of Personality.
Yes.
The Enneagram of Soul has 9 different ways of addressing our circumstances and our relationships from soul. And that's how what we combine with the hard won wisdom of the ego 8. Okay? And for your listeners, I'd be glad to list the 9 names of the 9 energies of the ego of soul, which is much more important than the ego of personality. Um, so, what I would hope for you, uh, Dr. Brown, is as an ego 8 that you go to the highest level of ego 8, which
Mhm,
would be a servant leader.
mhm,
And that leader would be very compassionate, but
mhm,
yet very strong and very able to step out where other people are scared to go.
mhm,
And she would combine that with compassionate benevolence. And what she could say to that person would be something like this: Mary, I am so shocked that this hurt you, because at the time that I said it, I was really speaking from my heart. And sometimes I'm just too out there with some of the empathy that I have for people. Uh, we've all had troubles in all of our relationships, including marriages, and I apologize for
mhm.
singling you out. But I treasure you, and I treasure you for helping me see again how I've got to be able to modulate some of this strong empathy I have. And what I'd like to do for you is just have a chat, you and I, a free chat for you and me to just talk about this together. And out of it, maybe something wonderful can come. And if you're willing to do that, I will meet you anytime, anywhere, online or at 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 Starbucks or whatever.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I really love the way you put it. Okay, so I'll tell you what I did. Um, so if I were operating from the 8 ego wise, it would have been, well, her loss, and who cares?
Well,
But
that's the unhealthy
exactly, the
eight.
unhealthy, right? Just to make that clear to everybody, okay? This is not what I did. What I did is I called her. First, I sat for a minute and just centered myself and asked for guidance from Source. I said, God, use me. And then, and sat for a minute or two and got my defensiveness, which could come up like, and just let go of that. How can I serve her? That was the question. How can I serve her? And I called and I said, oh my gosh, I'll use the name Mary like you did. It's not Mary, but Mary, oh, thank you so much for your text. It means so much to me that you trusted me to be direct with me. And I feel that I'm making up in my head that I hurt you with what I said. And I said, is that right? Would you tell me how you're feeling? And I just listened. And off she went and told me a lot of stuff. And I just listened and listened with love, with an open heart. And eventually she got to a point where this kind of all come out. And I said, thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for trusting me, giving me your trust. And I just want you to know that sometimes I can be really direct. And I realize it's hard sometimes to hear. And it's also a gift, because I can assure you that no one will go to bat for you faster than me. I am willing to go out on the skinny branches to serve you. And what came through really came through as a divine download. I almost didn't even remember it until you said it. And here's my challenge for you. My challenge would be just stay in. Let's keep this open communication and let's just see where this takes us.
Beautiful. And what happened?
And she ended up being my student all the way through all the levels. And she's still my friend, too.
See,
Yeah,
see,
she's
that's
still
that.
my friend, and our children were friends too. They used to do nights, slumber nights, and so forth, slumber parties with each other. But our world is so triggered right now. And I think that's where your work is so important, Dr. Howell, because we get triggered. And usually when we're triggered from that ego self, right? It says, oh, how dare she say that to me? I'm like, yeah, whatever. And that is very unhealthy. We have to let that go and find that soul child. Because, like you pointed out, soul children do not go and shoot people in mass shootings. Soul children do not go and blow people up and blow villages up or cities up with, bombs. Soul children do not do that. And never have I seen this so clearly than in the eyes of my first granddaughter, born on June 12th. And I just love to sit with her. She usually falls asleep and I fall asleep. But I love to stare at her. We just stare at each other. We just look deep in each other's eyes. And I've been told she has my eyes. And we just look at each other, and sometimes we smile, but we just really look inside each other. And I feel that our soul children are communicating there.
I think you're right. I love that.
What if we looked at everybody that way? So the next time you have that difficult person, you all, I want you to listen. Stop walking the dog for a second and really listen. This is important. You have that difficult person causing you some issues. Ask yourself, where are they coming from? What have they been triggered by? What have they been triggered by? What has happened to them that's difficult, that is causing this reaction? Because it didn't come out of nowhere. Something must have transpired in the past. And how can you create at least a safe place for communication to happen?
And it also, the soul gives us permission to leave relationships that are destructive. It doesn't mean that if you look into the eyes of somebody who's taking advantage of you, that you can join souls, because they're not looking at you out of their soul. They are taking advantage of you in some way. And if they do not, like your sweet friend Mary, if they do not disarm themselves and are hell bent on destroying people, the soul doesn't want us to stand around and take that kind of abuse.
Powerful.
Because, yeah.
I want everyone to hear that. Say it again. Say it again. This is so powerful.
The soul, if we're in it, really does give us clues about who we can trust and not trust, who we can try with, and who we best not try with, because it will do too much damage to us.
So powerful. And I want everyone listening to just to apply this to business. Think about it this way. What if we just all went around in our soul child and we didn't have contracts and we didn't hold people to contracts, right? We would not stay in business. So we've got to have certain protocols and certain ways of operating in the world. We have a legal system, right? And sometimes it's just and sometimes it's not. Right? But we do need our clear policies. We need our clear boundaries articulated. And I believe we need to hold people to the contracts that they make.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of people recently, well, not a lot. Just several people. It's not a lot, but several people asking for non-refundable deposits back and this sort of thing. And it's not that somebody just, got run over by a transfer truck and they're now paralyzed, right? It's nothing like that. It's just that, oh, I didn't really know what I was doing and you put pressure on me, whatever. But when we let people off the hook for their vision and for what they've committed to, we're not doing anyone a favor.
No, we're not.
We're not. Well, Dr. Howell, I have to tell one more quick little thing about you. I want to tell you how you made an impact on me before we begin to wrap this up. And I really want you to hear this. And I think it's so important. And, positive psychology shows that, and we started this interview actually by you talking about 3 of your great mentors. You all, I have an assignment for everybody. I want you to reach out, and hopefully your mentors are still on the physical plane on the earth. And if not, you can send it with prayers. Okay. Thank your mentors. Thank people who've had an impact on you. because so often those of us who are doing work out there, we don't know. And it's so nice to hear it. So I remember when I went to Canuga, and I'm really real on this show, so I want to just say this. I was going through a lot. I had gotten a scholarship. I was a single mom, pretty new single mom with my daughter, and was going through a lot. Things were tough. And I got the scholarship or partial scholarship. It didn't matter because it was like, somebody believes in me. I get to go. I've always been interested in the Enneagram. And when I got there, lo and behold, I had my own room. Dr. Howell, I didn't have a roommate. That's a God thing. I think God knew how much I needed some space to cry and scream
Yes.
and tantrum, right? And to take showers after I did it, right?
Yeah.
By myself, and to write and to talk to myself. I remember that you and I were sitting at one of the round tables with their lovely food there at Canuga. It's a great place, by the way, you all, in Hendersonville in North Carolina. And you told a story. I think I was sitting right beside you, and you told this story. And it was a story about you and this long hike that you took. And you know what I'm talking about? And you got to this particular point, and there was all this brush, and you had to push it aside, and it was really painful, and you were hurting, and there were, scrapes and so forth on your skin, but you kept going, and you reached the top, and you were so glad you pushed through all of that. Now, I'm paraphrasing this story, but what I took from it, and I get teary thinking about it, is that those things that are so challenging to us, we must keep going. We must not quit. We must move forward and know that God has a bigger vision, that once we get to the top of that mountain, we're going to see a lot of that vision. We got to move through the pain and the thorns. It's, like the crosses that we carry. Got to move on through and keep going to see the vista. So I so appreciated that.
You are so welcome. Actually, that incident that happened to me was when I was in my 40s and was at Canuga at a conference that is no longer held there, called Journey into Wholeness, and run by Jim and Annette Cullifer. And to just refresh your memory about that story, I was going through a very difficult and trying time, and fear was a part of what I was feeling. And I was climbing a mountain there called Eagle Rock. And I had to go through a lot of thorns and bad thickets. And one of the things that really was sent to me by God during this very difficult time was the presence of a butterfly. And when I was going through this thick tunnel of a thicket, I thought, well, I won't see a butterfly here. And one came through. A butterfly came through the thicket and then flew out another end of the thicket. And I thought, this is a sign that there is no place God cannot come. And that's the story that I told you.
That's so beautiful. And you know what's so funny is I don't remember the butterfly at all.
But the thicket.
My grandmother often comes in the form of a butterfly. And so I'm really surprised about that. But it doesn't matter, because a story, when shared, it becomes really the other person's story to take and say, "Ooh, that's
yes, yeah. That
but
was your story.
I love the butterfly too. So I've got to remember that. And that a butterfly could come in the middle of these thorns in this thicket and be present, that the light is and divine is there with us, even in the hardest things.
Yes.
Beautiful. Such a beautiful story. Well, you have been such a blessing to everyone today. And I know that you have a couple of gifts, and everybody, this is one of my favorite parts of the Bold Badass Business Show, is we give you stuff. Who likes stuff? Really awesome stuff. We put it in the Bold Badass Business freebie vault. And here's where you will access it. Everybody, write this down. Get your pen or dictate this into your phone. It is bit.ly/free from Dr. B. I made it rhyme just to make it easy. Let me put it again for you, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, DRB. You're just going to put that into your browser, enter your email and your name. We do not share it with others. We are not slimy. And we, in there, you will find over 130 episodes, and you'll find a gift from each of our esteemed guests. Now, Dr. Howell, you are going to give us two wonderful things to put in the vault. Would you quickly just tell everyone what they can receive?
Yes, they can receive a daily reflection from me that is delivered every day via email, and all 7 days a week. And each reflection has a different theme. And they can also receive from me a soul child remembrance kit. So, as I told you earlier, I will send you the URLs for both of those, but do go to THE.
Well, I'm going to pause you because that's going to all be in that freebie vault. We're going to put it all in there. So you all, we're going to get this from Dr. Howell. We will have it in there. So when you go into the freebie vault, look for his episode and you'll be able to click and it'll take you right there. And then you can get those daily reflections. And by the way, I love them. I receive them. I really enjoy them. They're very powerful. You know, Dr. Howell's an excellent writer, and also just your wisdom is amazing. Well, I am very thankful that you accepted this invitation.
Thank you.
On the show.
Loved being with you.
You too. And I know that this latest book of yours, Know Your Soul, Journeying with the Enneagram, that's definitely one I'm going to purchase. And I want to recommend to everyone else that you also get his wonderful book, which I have read and taken copious notes on, Becoming Conscious, the Enneagram's Forgotten Passageway. Let me repeat it. Becoming Conscious, the Enneagram's Forgotten Passageway. And the latest book from 2024, Know Your Soul, Journeying with the Enneagram. It occurs to me I need to ask one more thing, Dr. Howell, before we end. I'm just getting this, so I'm listening. I'm listening, guy. And that is, I know you and your beloved Lark went through the loss of your son, your only child, many years, some years ago, like back in 2008, I believe it was. Would you share with our folks something that would just help them when things are really hard? And maybe they haven't lost somebody they love, but maybe they've lost a job or a client or some of their good health or whatever. We have so many losses that can happen in life. What would you share with people to keep them going with those huge losses that are inevitably a part of life?
Well, I have to let you know this, that that loss of Ben at age 26 was very difficult, especially because he had such a long illness, and we thought he may pull through. It was terribly difficult. And that is when Lark, my wife, and I started looking into the Enneagram in a much deeper sense. And that energy is what sort of gave birth to my first book, Becoming Conscious, and also our institute. The reason we formed an institute is because when we would lecture, people who knew that we had been through such a loss asked, "How can I learn what you learned? You're operating, you're happy, you're sane, and you've had this devastating loss." And we said we'd be glad to teach you. And an entire institute was born out of that. We graduated up in the hundreds of people who come and make application and are
Yes.
come to our school, which meets 3 times a year. But knowing the gifts of the soul was a divine gift that we found really hidden in the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't a gift, those aren't gifts that we don't already know about. We do know about them. We know the gifts of the Spirit, if you're Christian, and the fruits of the Spirit. We know the Beatitudes. But we began to see these truths through the eyes of the Enneagram, and get this, how our ego distorts these truths.
Mm.
And removing the distortion is unveiling the true self who can go through anything. And so I will tell you this, and your listeners, uh, our daughter, Lauren, who was our only other child, we had to live through her death
Mm.
3 years ago at age 36. So basically, Lark and I don't have our kids anymore. And to be operating in within the borders of sanity, and to be able to still experience joy, intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
connectedness, kinship, benevolence, wisdom, strength, faith, and loving kindness, to be able to live in those and to have access to those is how and why we continue to live.
Wow. Well, thank goodness for your resolve to turn those difficult things into something positive, and also thank goodness for the souls of your children who contributed to this and to a message that now you share with others. And I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing. And so, as we close out, that means so much. And as we close out today, I just want to say to everyone, haven't you enjoyed this today? Hasn't it been wonderful? And I want to say to you listening that maybe you don't feel like a bold badass now. Maybe you've had some hits. Maybe you've had hit after hit after hit. But let me assure you that you are indeed a bold badass, or you wouldn't have stayed with us and listened throughout this. And I will see you again next week at 4:30 p.m. Friday Eastern Time, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. In the meantime, be bold, have courage, and keep making a difference. Thank you, Dr. Howell.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown.